Well, you know what they say, size does matter. Anyways, hey guys, David here with a brand new figure review. Since I've been doing a rather efficient job at reviewing the most recent Hot Toys releases of the 4 main Avengers from Age of Ultron, I figured it's time to review the next one on the list, which is of course Hot Toys 1/6 scale Hulk from Avengers Age of Ultron. And holy shit, this time I have a legitimate reason to be behind the box because I have no choice but to be completely obscured by this humongous thing. Obviously, being that this is the Hulk and that Hot Toys is very attentive to detail and to scale, he's going to be rather hefty and large, to say the least. Now, a little thing to kind of take note of before I get into the actual review is that this is actually the standard edition of the Masterpiece Hot Toys Hulk from Age of Ultron, because there's a second deluxe collector's edition type. I can't remember what it was called, but there's another version that is about $100 more, and it comes with a non-articulated second upper body that is designed to look like he's about to do the Hulk smash. He's like this, as well as a second head that has a much more clenched type of looking face, where it looks like he's just grimacing and shining his teeth to the whole world, as opposed to the like this, very much like this, as opposed to the open mouth screaming type of Hulk head sculpt that this version actually comes with. And at one point I actually had that one pre-ordered and down, but after figuring out what it actually came with, and more importantly what it did not come with, which is similarly to what this version comes with, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later on, I simply just could not justify spending an extra $100 just for a second body that doesn't even move, as well as a second head that does have a different type of expression on him, so that it could make for some interesting poses with the other Hot Toys figures. But $100 for just those two things, $50, sure. I think $50 I would have been like, okay, fine, $50, whatever. $100 is where I had to draw the line and be like, you know what, I can't do this. So I canceled my pre-order for that one, and I took this one instead, and now here we are. So before I get to the figure, much like with the other Hot Toys figures, I'm going to go ahead and show off the packaging really quick. It's similar to the other ones in terms of the design. You got Hulk right here, as well as the big A across this side here, and keeping up with the color motifs that all the packagings have. You got Hulk with some shades of green, yellow, and purple. Then we got Avengers Age of Ultron in silver there in the center. Hot Toys movie masterpiece, yada yada. We turn to this side and we just get more of that artwork that's going on in the front, as well as a Hulk symbol, which is essentially like his fists, because Hulk doesn't have a particular emblem. He doesn't have it's not like Thor with the hammer or Captain America with the shield or the arc reactor for Tony. So every time there's some kind of merchandising that's centered around Hulk, and they need to come up with some kind of symbol for him, it's always a fist. And I always feel bad for Hulk because he's never had a clear-cut symbol. I think the most clear-cut that he's ever had was the toxic label, the nuclear level of the triangles, the circular the circle with the triangles in the center that are black and yellow that symbolize toxic levels of radiation or whatever. I think that's the closest that you'll get to some kind of emblem signifying the Hulk, but I digress. We turn to the other side and we got a similar thing going. It says Hulk 1/6 scale. The top, similar to the other figures, is in black, says Hulk 1/6 scale right there. Bottom is actually kind of empty. It usually has other little doodads there, but this time it's empty because what they did is that they went ahead and skipped the sleeve, and it's just one big box that reminds me an awful lot of a console box, the type of box that comes that a console comes in, like the PS4, the Xbox One. This is how it feels. It even has a flap here at the top with a little clip that you need to remove that I'll demonstrate in a second, but that's about it. Then in the back you got the A with some stripes. It's pretty empty, and you got the green and purple thing going on there, as well as the credits for the figure in Japanese, I believe. Actually, okay, no, they are not in Japanese. Okay, right there, in Japanese. And that really about does it for the packaging. So let's go ahead and open him up. Like I said before, there's a little flap here at the top. that you just lift, similar to how when you open up consoles, they got this type of thing going on. You remove the flap, and actually, before you do so, on there are actually the credits for the creators and the sculptors of the figure in English. So let's go ahead and remove that. And then inside you got a styrofoam capsule, if you will, that happens to contain the figure. Do be careful, however, if you do get this figure, because this box is no joke, okay? Obviously this is a collector's item, so the box needs to be sturdy and firm, and because of how sturdy and firm it is, these flaps at the top here, where you do open up the figure, are actually a bit sharp because of how thick and how clear cut the flaps are. They're rather sharp. I mean, right there, I almost cut myself actually. So do be careful when you do open up this figure. So similar to, it's almost like a blend between how Tony was packaged and how Captain America was packaged, where you got this casing here made out of styrofoam, but then in the front you got this plastic little cover, and as you remove it, some things are coming apart. And also similar to the previous figures, I actually already opened up this figure to actually mess around with him and know what he's all about prior to actually opening him up. So that's why some pieces of plastic and wrapping have been kind of already undone. But there you have him, and I was not joking about the size. He really is huge. A little interesting thing that I noted earlier that's not that big of a deal, but still it's kind of nifty, is that this piece of plastic has a certain outline so that obviously it can clip into place here with the styrofoam casing. But what I find kind of interesting is that if you just look at it, it kind of looks like the Mark 1 from the first Iron Man movie. I don't know, just thought it was kind of neat. I'm going to throw that to the center there. Let's go ahead and take out Hulk. Oh my god. Okay. It feels like I'm handling a baby. It really, it really does. Okay, so go ahead and stand him up firmly. Yeah, that's how huge he is. Let me take out the extra pair of hands. There you go. And that is actually about it. Yeah. If you didn't already tell, he is lacking an awful lot of bonus little accessories, which ultimately is my first and probably only legitimate complaint. I do have one, maybe two other nitpicks, but my only actual complaint is that he's very barren. I mean, what you see here is pretty much what he comes with. At least the standard version. Now, of course, the deluxe version comes with that second head and that bonus upper body sculpt. But besides that, he's pretty barren. And him not coming with any accessories is not that huge of a problem for me, because I knew that in the movie he didn't have that many accessories that were connected to his character, unlike Iron Man or Captain America or Quicksilver or even Scarlet Witch. But with him, I understand that he wouldn't come with any significant accessory, but a piece of debris or something that you can pose him with to make it look like he's about to throw or about to break or something like that would have been kind of nice. But furthermore, the absence of a base kind of caught me off guard to the point where I was legitimately disappointed that he didn't come with a base. It's probably that Hot Toys probably thought that the figure is just so hefty and firm and large that you don't need a base to put him in, and it would have cost even more to develop such a big base to hold such a big figure. So from a financial, commercial viewpoint, I can kind of understand, but considering how all of the other Hot Toys figures come with bases, to see Hulk being left out of the bunch in that department is slightly disappointing. So let me go ahead and punch in the camera and show you guys in further detail Hot Toys Avengers Age of Ultron Hulk. Okay, so Hot Toys Hulk. If you couldn't already tell, rather massive. As soon as I lifted off that plastic wall at the front of the figure, that plastic window, he really did leave a lasting impression on me, because I noticed how huge he was and how detailed he was. And of course, Hot Toys always goes for detail. But what they did with Hulk is that, knowing that he's mainly shirtless, obviously, he has much less clothes than the other figures, they need to be able to hide as many points of articulation as possible to retain that level of realistic detail. And not only were they able to do that by capturing the likeness of Mark Ruffalo, but more importantly, capturing the likeness of the Mark Ruffalo Hulk, because it's one thing to make it look like the actor, but it's another thing to make it look like the actor looking like the Hulk in the movie. Hopefully that makes sense, but basically they didn't try to go after the actor's likeness. They went more after the actual likeness of the Hulk within that movie that is supposed to have Ruffalo-ish like details, but at the same time he's supposed to look like a brute with a bigger forehead, bigger head, square jaw, that kind of thing. And I feel like they capture that really well in the head sculpt. Let me go ahead and bring the figure up a little closer to the camera there. And as you can see, he's very well detailed, very well, greatly sculpted. I mean, he really does feel like a hulking beast. And I love the little details because what they did is that, like I said, to kind of hide as many points of articulation as possible because of how much skin he's showing, what they did is that they created a figure body for Hulk, a specific figure body for Hulk, because obviously you're not going to be able to find this type of body by itself, because Hot Toys do sell their body types individually without any clothes or without stuff like that, in case you need like an extra figurine to be able to add clothes to, if you have a figure that has accessories or has a second assortment or a second outfit that you can then put on there. They're obviously not going to sell Hulk's body type here, so they created one specifically for him. And then what they did is that they added this type of rubber, it's almost like a synthetic rubber, over the torso as well as the arms to kind of mask those areas of articulation. And I feel like that shines the best here in the torso area, particularly in the chest where you do have, I believe, some ab articulation, but you can't really see it because it's masked by this skin-like rubber that they added over the shoulders and over the torso area. Especially in the neck, there's a point of articulation where he's able, as you can see, he's able to move. Whoop, I'm not supposed to show that just yet. Okay, keep your head together, Hulk. I know you're not good at that, but at least try. Anyways, he's got a point of articulation here in the neck, but since they added that piece of rubber over it, it looks much more organic and real than even with the other Hot Toys figures that I've currently reviewed, such as Captain America and Iron Man. If I were to go ahead and rotate it, you can see the shoulder bending right there in the back. See? That's actually rather cool. You can actually see the shoulder and the skin flexing along with Hulk here. And honestly, I love that. I love that. And not only were they able to get the texture right, but also the little paint details. Over here in the back, I don't know if it comes across well on camera, but you can actually see a few veins within the muscle texture, as well as here around his neck. You can see the veins popping out. You can see the hair over his chest. His very manly chest. Rubbing on his hair follicles. Anyways, yeah, it just looks great. If there was only one issue with the addition of rubber to kind of give it that realistic touch, would be that the only area where that doesn't fully succeed would have to be the elbows. When you do bend the elbows a certain way, the rubber does kind of bend a certain way that it makes it look like his arm is broken, to be quite honest. I don't know if you can pick it up right there. I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but you do, especially from the side, start to see the rubber bending a certain way that just doesn't look right. It works well with the neck and the torso, but not so much with his elbows there. So let me go ahead and relax his arm. And you got a similar thing going on in his feet, except that because of some lesser forms of articulation in the legs, you don't see that much of that synthetic rubber movement going on with his feet. Plus, you got his pants, so you don't have to. I believe Hot Toys didn't have to worry about showing that many points of articulation when it came to his legs, because most of it is covered by his pants anyway, which look rather nice. Just letting you know, I don't believe you can remove them. Not that I tried, I'm just noticing that right now. I'm like, I don't think you can remove them, to be quite honest, in the first place. But the pants do look nice. They look like that militarized version of the Hulk pants, because after being associated with S.H.I.E.L.D. for so long, I felt it's like Bruce Banner kind of caught on and knows that if he's able to control the Hulk, then he should be able to put on these specific pants that stretch to fit his super heroic antics. So he's got these futuristic looking type of pants that I believe stretch to fit the Hulk accordingly. and they look rather nice. I like the detail on them. I like the little pins on them. And they stretch much like they would in the movie. They stretch accordingly to the Hulk. Just don't pull them up a little too high because that does kind of break the illusion a little bit, because being that Hot Toys didn't have to worry about detailing that much when it came to his legs, because they're going to be covered up by the pants. If you lift it high enough, you can actually see the basic body that they created for the Hulk, to where he doesn't actually have any kind of detailing going on there. So to keep the illusion alive, just make sure that the pants are fully down and fit in the proper place. So let's go ahead and talk about articulation real quick. You already saw a couple of the points that I mentioned while talking about the rubber that was put over the actual Hulk body. But the other forms of articulation that I didn't really note all that well is that his head can rotate 360 degrees. It's just a little stiff. And you also have to be careful, because there is a feature built into his head that I'll talk about in a little while. But you do have a joint that allows his head to rotate 360 degrees. And then you got that bottom neck joint that is able to move his head upwards about that far, and then downwards about that much forward. Just make sure you don't cause any kind of wear and tear to that skin texturized rubber that they put over his body. And then you got the shoulders, which can be rotated outwards that far, as well as that far down. There are a couple of, I think it's double jointed, I believe, so you can flex the shoulder in a variety of ways. And if you couldn't already hear, they are ratcheted. There are various points of articulation on Hulk that are ratcheted, and for good reason, because of how big of a figure that he is. He's bound to be top heavy, so the fact that they included ratcheted joints, very helpful to put him in a variety of poses. And then, like I've noted before, he does bend at the elbow about that far forwards, and I believe that is really about it when rotating it backwards. He does have a swivel joint here in the wrists, for obvious reasons that I'll demonstrate in a second. He can rotate, I think he can rotate, he can rotate 360 degrees at the waist. By why would you want to do that? As well as move forwards and backwards. And I'm trying to make sure if he has an ab crunch or not. I don't believe he does. No, I don't believe he does. But that would have been rather cool, especially to take advantage of the rubber that they put over the body. Then you got joints here in the foot that are also ratcheted. Got one right there, moves that much back as well as that much forward. And then inwards like that. Outwards like that, and then inwards about that far. And also ratcheted as well, except that one sounds a little bit more like it has some kind of spring within it, but I'm not entirely sure. You can bend at the knee about that far back. And I don't believe it can extend all that much forward, but that's generally how much the human body is able to allow, Hulk or not. And then you got a joint here at the ankle that allows for the foot to move. I just don't know how far. And he's huge, so I have to hold him like this. But I believe he can rotate his foot 360 degrees. It's a little stiff if you couldn't already hear, but you can do that. As well as pivot up and down slightly like that. And inwards and outwards very, very firmly. You just got to be careful. Make sure you don't break it, because he does not come with feet replacements or added pairs of feet. He does, however, come with only one other set of hands, which again goes back to that initial complaint that I had, which is that he's very barren. He hardly comes with anything. I understand he wasn't going to come with accessories, but no base and only one pair of hands, a little disappointing. But he does come with a second pair of hands, because Hulk only has two modes. You got Hulk clap, Hulk smash, okay? So if you were to go ahead and remove his Hulk smash fisted hands, which is relatively easy to do because of how big the joints are. As you can see, the joints are rather huge, so when you remove the hands, you can simply just take these hands that are actually articulated, with the exception of the thumb. The thumb is the only one that is simply just made out of rubber, but whenever you move it, it just retracts back to that original pose, so it doesn't really move. But the other fingers are made out of, I believe they're made out of rubber, but they have some kind of wiring within them that kind of morphs to whatever pose you put it in. So if you were to take the finger and kind of fold it downwards, it kind of stays like that a little bit, but not fully. let's just say that there's no joints. They simply just used wire to kind of mold the figures. I mean, the fingers to be somewhat articulated, as you can see, to kind of make it look organic, to make it look like a legitimate hand, because that's what they were going for with Hulk, to show, to not show as many of those actual separation of the joints as possible. So they went for some kind of wiring with the fingers, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because there's certain ways that I would like the fingers to be, especially when it comes down to the knuckle here. I kind of wish that the knuckle was able to flex all the way down, but it doesn't look like it can do that, so that's a little bit of a bummer. I'm trying to do the middle finger. That's as much of the middle finger as I can do with the hand, so that's kind of sad, but oh well. So let's go ahead and fit. There you go. That's as much as I was able to pose the hand there. Besides that, that is really about it. The only other thing that I can talk about really quick, and let me go ahead and actually move this downward so I can demonstrate this a little bit better, is that out of all the Hot Toys figures that I've reviewed so far, this is the only one that comes with the PERS system, or I should just say PERS because the S in PERS stands for system anyway, which I believe is the posable eye rolling system or parallel eye rolling system. I can't remember what the P stands for, but it's something eye rolling system, in which basically you're able to articulate the actual eyeballs within Hulk's head. I will try to demonstrate this on camera as best to the best of my ability, but I just don't know how well it's going to do so because my camera is not necessarily full HD, but it's not 4K or anything like that, but I will try my best to kind of punch in the camera and show you guys. So what you do here, if you didn't already catch that little blooper I did earlier when I was trying to articulate, I was trying to move around his head, is that you can actually reach in here and pull off his hair that is being held together by magnets. And now it's tough, okay, I don't know why. But there goes his hair, there goes his wig there, and now he looks like more like a robot than anything else. And then, I'll have to see if I can show you guys here. I know it's a disturbing sight, but bear with me. Inside, you got these two little rods that actually control his eyes. So whenever you move around those rods, you're able to make him look in different directions, which is rather cool. And being that he's such a huge figure, those rods are not only rather big, but you can simply just do it with your hand. My only slight nitpick would be that sometimes it's a little hard to actually move these rods around whenever they get stuck up against the inside of his head. And that's where I wish that they would have included, I mean, if you're not going to include another bonus set of hands or a base, at least give us that piece of plastic that the other Hot Toys figures came with so that I'm able to get in there and move the stick around to get it unstuck. It's not a huge deal. It doesn't take that long to fix. All I got to do is just get like a pencil or a pen or just some kind of paper clip or something like that, something easy, and I just go in there and move it around. It doesn't take that much effort. It's really easy to do. It's just that that piece of plastic, I'm pretty sure it doesn't cost that much to include in there. Just throw it in there. But you can move these rods around to be able to move around his eyes. And trust me, when I moved it for the very first time, it creeped me the fuck out. I'm serious, especially when it was a little stiff and I went ahead and I pushed on the rod a little too far and his eyes just went, it freaked me the hell out. But it's a fun little feature that I have seen Hot Toys do in other figures that I don't particularly own, but I do know that they have been there. And on those figures, it's a little bit more frustrating to mess around with because the figure is actually smaller, so you do need and so look, there we go. There we go. This one's stuck, so now he's legitimately cross-eyed. Oh my god. This is fun. This is funny. Yeah, like I said, his eye is now stuck on the inside. Oh my god. So yeah, I kind of wish that they would have included that piece of plastic so that I'm able to move the eyes around a little bit more easily, but oh well, what can you do? All you need to do is just get like a pen or a pencil or something like that and get in there and nudge the sticks apart from each other. But I think for the rest of the review, I will have cross-eyed Hulk here. That is pretty funny. I don't know if you can see it well. I don't think it's coming across on camera really well. I'm just fucking There we go. Look at that. Look at that. I does the smash. Alright, so yeah. Very fun little feature that can lead to so many shenanigans. But kind of do wish that the other Hulk figure, the other Hot Toys figures would have included this, but kind of makes sense for it to be applied to Hulk, because if they're not going to give us more accessories or a base, least you can do is throw in the purse system. So anyways, that really about does it for Hulk. The only other thing that I can do is that, being that Hulk is the biggest of the Avengers, and being that Hot Toys is all about attention to detail and to scale, he's going to be huge. And when I pulled him out of the packaging, I was like, okay, he's a big fella, but is he really the right size for Hulk if he's supposed to be the scale with the other Avengers? So, here to my side, I have... wow, he kind of fell. We have Hot Toys Iron Man from Age of Ultron. There we go. And then we have Hot Toys Age of Ultron Captain America that I have previously reviewed. And if you have not watched my review for either of these guys, please check out my channel to see them. And as you can see, yeah, he is definitely to scale. As soon as I pulled these guys out for the size comparison, that's when I realized, okay, never mind, yeah, he's to scale. He is huge. And as you can see, he is massive. And I already see the team coming together, so I'm that much more eager to get Thor and posing him along with all these other guys to form the Avengers boy band. So I'm a little disappointed that he didn't come with some extras, whether it be at least a third pair of hands or a base. Now, I wasn't expecting something, nothing too extravagant with the accessories, but at least a base. Come on, Hulk deserves a base. Alright? He barely gets his own movie. Let's at least give him a base for the Hot Toys version here. So I was a little disappointed by that, and I do have a couple of nitpicks with the sticks within his head or the articulation, but they're things that I know I couldn't have possibly helped. With that said, this is a very impressionable figure with great detail, a nice little addition of this rubber that makes it look like a much more realistic collector's item rather than just an ordinary Hot Toys figure. And the scale does the figure justice, as well as the detail and just the posability and the attention to giving him right to the joints to make that posability not a nightmare is definitely something to commend Hot Toys for. So I give Hot Toys 1/6 scale Age of Ultron Hulk a high 8 out of 10. I like this figure quite a bit. I believe it's on par with Iron Man in terms of being so far my favorite out of the three, and Captain America is just a very, very, very close second. But as I pose him here with these other figures, my collection is becoming more and more complete, and he only makes me that much more excited to not just own Thor, but also pose him along with Thor and have him fight. And definitely a great looking figure and a very welcoming addition. And quite honestly, I enjoyed this guy more so than I probably could have enjoyed the actual deluxe edition that came with that second body, because $100 for that, I just couldn't justify it. So I'm very satisfied with my $100 cheaper standard 1/6 scale Hulk. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of my review for the figure or the figure itself if you do happen to own him. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.